I need to confirm what happened with my own eyes. If it weren't for the desperate crowd control efforts by the police and the association's employees, the scene of the incident would have descended into pure pandemonium from the maddened crowd. The reporters had also rushed here as soon as word got out and were now busy snapping away with their cameras. In a way, you could say that today's tragedy has been foretold in advance. His expression was hard. On the other hand, Jinwoo was feeling confused. Does that mean the association didn't do anything about an incident they could have prevented in advance? Before his confusion had the chance to transform into anger, the association president pulled out his phone and showed Jinwoo its display. It showed a graphical chart. This shows the increase in the gate activity around the city of Seoul for the last 6 months. The dots drew a gentle curvature, but when it got nearer to present, it suddenly spiked up steeply. And this side shows the stats from around the world. If the association president didn't make that clear, Jinwoo might have mistaken them for two of the exact same thing. That was how similar looking the inclines in those two graphs were. The numbers of gates appearing has spiked up noticeably throughout the world. Go-Gun Huey's complexion got darker and darker. However, that isn't the only strange thing. He returned the phone back into his inner jacket pocket and carried on. People wanting to confirm their awakened rankings are practically lining up in a long queue outside the association every day now. The number of gates where monsters come out was increasing, and at the same time, the number of hunters who were supposed to block the gates was also increasing, as if to maintain a balance. Anyone could tell something big was afoot from that data. Unfortunately, that didn't mean Jinwoo could do anything about them right now. It was the same story for Go-Gun Huey as well. Also, a simple phone call would have sufficed if it was about sharing of information and a hypothesis. Jinwoo thought that association president wouldn't have taken time out of his packed schedule to simply have this conversation. In that case, what you wished to talk to me about was. As if he was waiting for that, Go-Gun Huey picked up a briefcase resting by the footwell and pulled out various documents from there. Japan, the States, China, Russia, France, Britain, Germany, and even from the Middle East. All the nations with some international clout were brought up abruptly. These are all the official documents sent in from those nations that wish to make contact with you, Seong Jinwoo Hunter Nim. I'm fairly certain that some of them even have made unofficial contacts with you already. Jinwoo briefly recalled the incident involving the American Hunter Bureau's people, but decided not to mention it. In all honesty, we at the Hunters Association simply don't have any rights to stop these people. No, we can only protect your personal information according to your requests. Jinwoo silently listened to the older man's story. I know that everything depends on your decision, Seong Jinwoo Hunter Nim, but I fear that our country will not be able to adapt to the incoming changes if you decide to leave us. Rather than a concrete answer, Jinwoo shifted his gaze out of the car's window. As he fell deeper into a myriad of distracting thoughts, one of the biggest hospitals in the country entered his view. It was the very hospital where Jin-Ah had been admitted to. We will provide you with every convenience we can possibly provide. Go-Gun Huey stuffed the documents back inside the briefcase and asked Jinwoo with a tense expression, "So, would you please remain in South Korea?" The Night Order's assault team chased after the ants and arrived at the boss chamber's entrance. The hunters at the back of the pack suddenly became rather noisy. "Chairman, there are a lot of things coming from our rear." "Yeah, I can hear them coming, too. Everyone, enter the boss room, now." Their sole hope for survival was the summoned creatures left behind by Hunter Seong Jinwoo. After confirming that every last hunter had entered, Park Jong-soo shouted out, veins popping up in his throat, "Block the exit." Jeong Yi-rim activated her skill, Holy Wall, and blocked up the entryway connecting the boss room and the passageway before it. The Death Knight standing in front of the rushing horde noisily pounded on the invisible barrier. Her forehead soaked in cold sweat now, Jeong Yi-rim turned her head towards Park Jong-soo. "Chairman, I won't be able to hold this for more than 5 minutes, tops." I know, not only Park Jong-soo, but the rest of the assault team members had finished preparing for a battle in case the wall was breached. "Oh, my dear lord." His eyes opened even wider than before. The boss monster currently standing in a face-off against the ants was something even Park Jong-soo knew of, after hearing about it many times in the past. A pale-faced mage wearing a tattered robe, the Arch Lich. It was the strongest undead-type monster, thought to be the creature at the top of the undead food chain. Why did it have to be a DMN Arch Lich? Park Jong-soo's complexion darkened considerably. He prayed for the summoned creatures to quickly kill the boss and help them out, but then, the opponent turned out to be a DMN Arch Lich. It'd be more realistic for the hunters to get rid of the scores of undead first and help the summoned creatures out next. It was then, Beru took a step forward towards the Arch Lich. The Arch Lich then immediately summoned over a dozen Death Knights around the ants and surrounded them. Beru bared his fangs and extended its claws out. The Arch Lich recognized the black smoke continuously rising up from Beru's entire body. It was almost as if the completely empty eye sockets had widened for a second there. The Shadow Army. The language of the monsters came out from the Arch Lich's mouth. Beru retracted his claws after hearing the boss's words. The Arch Lich swept its gaze around the ants behind Beru and asked in a puzzled voice, "Why is the king's personal army attacking us?" Kekek. Beru leaked out a sound that sounded like a cackle of ridicule, before pointing to himself. "We have been chosen by the king." And then he pointed at the Arch Lich. "And you weren't." The Arch Lich couldn't believe it, its voice now containing a trace of anger. "That can't be. I shall personally report to the king and..." Unfortunately, even before the Arch Lich could finish its sentence, Beru appeared right before its stunned eyes. The shoulders of the Arch Lich quivered momentarily. Beru was a high-class monster that the owner of a rank S dungeon sacrificed its own life force to create. Even if its overall stats had fallen a little ever since becoming a shadow soldier, there was just no way that an owner of a measly rank A dungeon, an Arch Lich, could fight against Beru. The former Ant King simply thrust its hand into the shocked boss's chest without hesitation. The hand pierced through the chest, along with a pendant hanging on the Arch Lich's neck. Beru's hand exiting from the back of the Arch Lich was grasping the pendant now. That piece of jewelry was basically the heart of the Arch Lich. It wasn't all that difficult for Beru, once a top monster himself, to detect what was supplying the life force to his enemy. The Arch Lich desperately shook its head. "No, this can't be." However, Beru didn't pay any attention to the pleading of his enemy, and simply crushed the pendant in his hand. "Krek, you talk too much for someone about to die." Along with Beru's words, the body of the Arch Lich crumbled to dust. Park Jong-soo's jaw dropped to the floor. He was so shocked that he needed some time to process the event his own two eyes had witnessed just now. How could it kill the Arch Lich in one hit? There was an event that catapulted the Arch Lich as a pretty infamous creature among the boss-level monsters, and that would be the incident of the Gold Dragon Guild's annihilation. An entire guild was completely destroyed by a single Arch Lich. Not just any guild either, but one that was supposed to be quite powerful even within China, no less. But then again, that might have been an obvious result. The Arch Lich could continuously summon out Death Knights anytime it wanted to. And one Death Knight was a very powerful undead type monster that required the bitter struggle of multiple rank hunters to defeat. If you underestimated the boss monster simply because it didn't have any guards around it initially, then you'd not be able to escape the fate of total destruction. In the end, a dungeon break occurred from the gate the Gold Dragon Guild failed to close. China's own special authority rank hunter Liu Zhaijing arrived in the nick of time so the incident didn't turn into a catastrophe. But still, many hunters got to know the terror an Arch Lich posed through this incident. Hyung Nim, wasn't that an Arch Lich? Yeah, it was. The thing that came out of the gate during that Gold Dragon Guild incident. If that's true, then that ain't just one-shotted an Arch Lich. Jiang Yunti now formed a completely disbelieving expression. What a scary power. They had seen the extent of his power in Jeju Island, but having witnessed it for real, they had to concede the fact that he possessed an incredible ability. Xiang Jinwoo Hunter Nim doesn't even need to enter a gate and still gets to clear it by just sending these guys in. No. Jiang Yunti spoke without thinking too much about what he was saying. However, Park Jong-soo felt goosebumps break out all over his skin after he thought about what his deputy just mentioned in passing. The number of summons Hunter Seong brought out back in Jeju Island was at least over 200. That was only from those that got caught on camera. So, it was difficult to even estimate how many more he could actually summon out at once. What if he didn't even need to make a single move, but simply send out his summons to clear out dungeons? Hyung Nim, let's not waste more time and push ahead with merging our guild with Seong Hunter Nim's guild. You really want to try your luck with that, Hyung Nim? Think about it. Combine Seong Hunter Nim's abilities with our guild's know-how. Even the likes of the Hunters Guild should be terrified by our potential, man. Would Vice Chairwoman Cha Hyun leave the Hunters Guild and join hands with Hunter Seong for no reason? Of course not. You honestly believe that Seong Hunter Nim needs us? Park Jong-soo tutted and explained in detail. Do you really think that Seong Jinwoo Hunter Nim will be able to disregard the law if he wants to work? Excuse me, even if it's possible for his summons to clear dungeons, he still needs to fill up the minimum headcount for the raid team. No. Oh, hearing that plausible explanation, Jiang Yunti's expression brightened up once more. You're right, Hyung Nim. As the two men stared at each other with happy smiles on their faces, the ground beneath their feet trembled ever so softly. With the death of the boss-level monster, the gate was starting to close up. Well, let's carry on our discussion after we get out of here first. Yes, Hyung Nim. Will you let me enter high-ranking gates all by myself in the future? Pardon me. When he was faced with a completely unexpected demand, Go Gun Huey's eyes opened up wide. Are you asking me to exclude you from the minimum headcount rule? Jinwoo nodded his head. The regulation regarding the number of raid team members was the minimum safety net in place for the hunters. It was a policy to prevent the incidents of hunters entering a dungeon without sufficient preparation and losing their lives. However, did Hunter Seong require such a safety net when his summons could beat down countless rank S monsters? Abruptly recalling a certain scene from the Ant Tunnel raid, Go Gun Huey asked as his expression tensed up. By any chance, the raid permits your guild will be issued with, are you planning to clear those gates all by yourself? Yes. Go Gun Huey became speechless from Jinwoo's straightforward reply. There was not one trace of worry in his voice. Could it be that he made the guild just for this? Did he do that so he could solo clear high-ranking dungeons? A one-man army, for Go Gun Huey, who had been constantly worried about the unchecked growth of the major guilds, that proved to be one hell of an attractive concept. His heart began racing again. Go Gun Huey placed his hand on the chest that began to hurt a little, and formed a bitter smile after comparing himself to the virile and healthy-looking Jinwoo. Will it be difficult? Jinwoo asked, but Go Gun Huey immediately shook his head. It's not going to be impossible. Leave it to me. Jinwoo grinned brightly after hearing Go Gun Huey's confident reply. Nice. One of the things that could have proved to be a source of headache got resolved just now. Thank you. Jinwoo smiled and expressed his gratitude, and Go Gun Huey replied with a smile of his own. Camera flashes went off every few seconds as a slim woman with natural black hair assumed several different poses. Good, that's good. A wide grin didn't want to leave the face of the photographer as he snapped away with his camera. Thank you for your hard work. You too, Miss Soo Hyun. Hello, Nuna. It was from Yoo Jin Ho, regrettably. Yoo Soo Hyun was well aware of the fact that this kid would only call her Nuna if he wanted something from her. Nuna, don't you want to join our guild? What on earth was he on about, out of the blue? A thin frown formed for a second there on Yoo Soo Hyun's fine, smooth forehead. Your guild. She was so dumbfounded that she simply had to ask again. Instead of getting dragged to my father's guild and acting like its public relations mouthpiece, don't you think it'll be a lot better for you to leave your name on our guild's employee list and do whatever you want? And this was the rather remarkable reply she got in return. Yoo Soo Hyun's voice became quite low as she got more and more suspicious. And why do you need my name in the first place? We're still short of one last guild founding member, you see. Wait, are you telling me to join a guild that's not even a real thing yet? Yeah, Yoo Jin Ho answered back oh so innocently. Yoo Soo Hyun felt her head slowly develop a pulsing migraine simply from wondering just what this kid believed in to become such an optimistic human being. No, besides all that, just who could be the other person, then? Rather than the idiot asking her to put her name down as one of the guild's founding members, she was getting a lot more suspicious of the other person's reasoning for wanting to make a guild with this idiot. Instead, you aren't acting like this cause some shady character sweet-talked you into it, right? Who'd want to create a guild with a rank D hunter possessing a negligible amount of hunting experience other than swindlers? However, Yoo Jin Ho's response was rather different from her expectations. From the other side of the phone line, the sound of a chuckle formed when the corner of one's lips arched up came out, followed soon after by a relaxed voice. You'll be shocked if you find out who that shady character is, you know. Okay, who is it? I'm hanging up. Oh my gosh, you are telling the truth. The surprised voice of a woman came from Jinwoo's side. He turned around to find Yoo Soo Hyun exiting from the conference suite with a pair of very large eyes staring back at him. Jinwoo shifted his gaze over to Yoo Jin Ho and silently asked him. And she is? Yoo Jin Ho replied with a pair of tense eyes. It's her, Hyung Nim. Before arriving here, Jinwoo had already heard the gist of the situation from Yoo Jin Ho. Someone who carried around a hunter license but couldn't be bothered about the matters of the guild, yet worthy of their trust. And she's even a rank a hunter too. Her rank wasn't all that important, though. In any case, the first impression she gave off was not bad at all, perhaps owing to her clear eyes and her bright smile. They shared quick and simple introductions. Excuse me. Before they could sign the contract, Jinwoo decided to ask her about something he was curious about. If you do this, your relationship with your uncle might get a lot more tricky. Will that be fine with you? That's still better than getting mixed up with Yoo Jin Seong, you know. Yoo Jin Seong. Jinwoo looked back to Yoo Jin Ho, and the latter embarrassedly scratched the back of his head. He's my older brother, Hyun Nim. Oh, that bad personality older brother he talked about, right? Yu Jin Seong was supposed to take over the guild if Yu Jin Ho failed to cut the mustard, wasn't it? Jinwoo quietly nodded his head. This wouldn't have happened if Yu Jin Ho did as he was told and took over the Yujin guild. In a way, Yu Su Hyun was another victim of the choice Yu Jin Ho made. Because of this kid, many people are being greatly inconvenienced, aren't they? Excuse me. Yes, she was blushing just a little bit. It seemed like she had something important to say to him, judging from how her eyes were quietly trembling like that. Jinwoo also formed a serious expression. Is there something you'd like to ask me? Yu Su Hyun hesitated slightly, but after hearing his words, she worked up enough courage to ask him. Her eyes even began sparkling. Can we take a selfie together? I wish to upload it to my SNS profile. You will acknowledge summoned creatures as members of